few. We'll jump right into questions for Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand.
Sam Blum from the Daily Orange. Both Syracuse and you guys play very tight rotations, in terms of bench minutes and number of players used. I'm curious, what does that kind of do to impact your team, and what does it say about, this tournament, the two teams that have that, are advancing so far?
Well, I'd say in our case, it's out of necessity. It's not necessarily out of choice. I think it's the same probably with him. We probably both prefer to, to be 10 deep and be able to sustain foul trouble and injuries and things like that. But we don't. And I would count both of ourselves very fortunate to be able to advance to a Sweet 16 with the lack of depth. And I'm speaking on our behalf that we have. The guys have managed it really well in the games, especially our bigs. That's where Kyle and Domus have really grown up, I think, this year's as far as maybe to cut down on some of the stupid ones and the silly ones and the cheap fouls. And then as far as conditioning and all that for the tournament, these 2.5-minute timeouts and long halves and all that really help you in that regard. Makes things a lot simpler when you're sitting on the bench. You don't have to worry about subbing much.
Go to the aisle.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. Mark, you're the first double-digit seed to be favored in 3 tournament games. Actually, the first to be favored in 2, and now you're going to be favored in 3. Do you think that shows you got how underseeded you were? What do you make of that?
Oh, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. I would just say maybe that's out of respect for the program, and maybe it's out of the thought that we're playing really, really good as of late. I mean, and I think they probably seeded us right about where we deserve to be seeded just because of our lack of marquee wins during the season. I often said, though, during the season that this was a unique team and a unique situation because nobody ever blew us out. I mean, the games we lost, we had leads in the second half. Many of them came down to the last possession. Some of them came down to us just missing free throws. And if we just, make a free throw here or there, or don't have a silly turnover, I mean, you might win 4 or 5 of those games that we lost. Now you're a 3 seed. That's how crazy it is. So I thought we were a unique case for the committee in that regard. But fortunately, we didn't have to lobby or do any of that stuff because it probably wouldn't have turned out too well.
Stay in the aisle, 4th row.
Lindsay Joy from KHQ. Coach, you and Coach Boeheim have become friends over the years through USA Basketball, all that. What's your relationship like with him, and what's it like preparing to face, he and his team?
I mean, he's a really, really good friend, and he's a mentor, and he's meant a lot to my career, and if you think of all the icons and kind of the legends in our game currently, or pretty much most of them, think about, Coach Boeheim has stayed, at Syracuse the whole time, and Coach Izzo stayed at Michigan State, and Coach K's stayed at Duke, and so I think if you look at those have kind of been great role models and mentors for me as far as me just staying the course at GU and being happy and content. The other thing, Marcy and I got the idea from Jim and Julie for our Coaches versus Cancer. I mean, there never would have been a Coaches versus Cancer, and we raised, $7-8 million out in Spokane, 100% just because Julie and Jim talked to us and kind of got us going and even prodded us and motivated us to do that, came out and supported us. So I think that's really, really, really cool. And then he's helped me so much, obviously, with USA Basketball. And he's a really, really good guy, man. I wish you guys could see that side of him. He's not the surly curmudgeon you all think he is. He's funny, he's witty, he's a great card player, average fisherman, but there's some hope there. There's some promise here if we ever get him off the golf course.
We'll go to the third row on the left.
Coach David Mackey from IUPUI. Your team has scored about average of 33 points in the paint this season, and Syracuse has given up 33.7 points in the paint. What is your approach in this game to attack in the paint against their 2-3 zone?
Well, I mean, that poses a really, really unique challenge. We've probably played, I bet, less than 30 possessions against zone this year, mostly because teams fear Wilcher so much. And so it's going to be interesting to play it for 40 minutes, because you just don't create or have that same kind of rhythm you have a lot of times with your man offense. Obviously, we attack everything inside out, and we'll continue to attack inside out. That's kind of who we are. It's just going to come at different times. It's going to come in different places and in different contexts. And so I think that's a big key, that we don't just settle for tons of threes, but also, are getting our paint touches or the ball into the paint either off a pass or off the bounce.
Go on the left side.
Paul M. Banks of sportsbank.net. Coach, what did you gain the most individually and your program gain from doing the HBO reality series?
Let's see. I gained nothing from it individually except irritation for, and I mean that somehow in a good way. I don't know how that comes out in a good way, but I'm just not I'm a pretty private guy, and I'm not really into all that stuff. But my assistants, who I really trust, thought it would be good for us, and had some marketing people thought it'd be good for the university. And the people who did it for HBO were unbelievable. The ones that were with us day to day, we became very close to them. So I don't think I learned anything about myself. But you know what? My team, I was very worried about it because we were very immature, I thought, at the start of the year, and I think it was, processing, everything we were going through, as well as having to deal with cameras around us, was probably a little bit too much. But it, in a weird kind of way, I mean, it might have helped maturation process that we went through. And they just kind of ended up dealing with it, and it ended up turning out great. So it's funny how that goes sometimes. I would guess. I mean, you'll have to ask them. I mean, I think they like, I picked up on, boy, Eric and Josh, now, why are your shirts always off, when the HBO cameras are in here, and now we're in here at a film session, you have your shirts on. I'm like, I'm baffled by this. And so I think they liked their little time to flex and do their thing. And so, but you probably have to ask them about it. Yeah, I think so.
Shannon.
Hi, Coach Few. Shannon Spake, ESPN. Wondering, you hear a lot of teams when they're preparing for the Syracuse zone say, hey, we can watch it on film. We know it's coming, but when you get in the game, it's really very difficult to prepare for.
Sure.
What are the things that you stress to your guys about just how relentless they are with what they'll show you defensively?
Well, we try to mimic it as best you can in this week of practice, which is with who we have and our limited numbers this year. It's been, we can't come close to mimicking the length or the athleticism, and nor can we, they do a great job of adjusting through the course of a game, so that it's just something our guys are going to have to get comfortable with, and I told them, we got to be comfortable getting deep in the clock on shots, and we got to be comfortable, finding our way to the offensive glass, and we have to be comfortable. There are times when the best shot's going to present itself in the first 5 seconds of the clock, and we have to be able to step up and take it then. So, like I said, it's going to be interesting just because we don't, and there really aren't many teams in college basketball that play 40 minutes a zone, and I think that's kind of the simple brilliance of the whole Syracuse plan. It's kind of amazing in that regard.
Go on the aisle, second row.
Mike Waters, Syracuse Media Group. Mark, how rare is it for coaches to be friends like you and Jim are? I mean, I know there's a lot of acquaintances and you can be friendly, but and how long ago did that friendship with Jim start?
I tell you, the Nike trips are just great for that. Nike's done a great job over the years getting coaches to go on trips, and you really get to see guys outside these competitive, realms that we live in day to day, and you're just there by yourself, and there's no games, or there's nothing to hide, and so you can share ideas and talk and do things, and that's initially where I met Coach, 18-something years ago, and then just kind of grew from that, and like I said, grew to the point where, Marcy and Julie, became friends, and then they really, really helped us with our Coaches versus Cancer, so there was a bond with that. Because that's quite an endeavor. It's not just it's like throwing a royal wedding every year, And so it was good to always lean on them for that. And then he watches a lot of ball, that guy. I'm telling you. He'll call me all the time, and we have late starts out on our coast, and he'll tell me what happened, what he thought in the game and all that, and it's really impressive, and then helping me get involved in USA basketball it's been huge, and I definitely owe him for that. So I think there's a lot to him maybe that the general public doesn't get to see. He is a servant leader, big time. The amount of days and weeks and that he gives up for USA basketball. He's not just doing the Olympic team now. He's all the way down to the 18s, the 19s. I had the Pan Am team this summer, so he was there helping us, pick that and kind of shepherding us through that process, which can be a difficult process. He gives up a lot of time for just the good of basketball, and I don't think people realize this. Again, it's the surly curmudgeon kind of act up here that kind of throws them for a loop. So,
Stay on the left side, Ryan.
Ryan Baker, CBS Chicago. With Chicago hosting this Midwest regional final, there's been a lot of talk about no team from the state of Illinois in the NCAA tournament for 3 years running now, and the amount of top-notch players who don't stay in the Chicago area. Having said that, how'd you convince a guy like Zach Norville or even Jeremy Parker a few years ago to go way out to the great Northwest in Spokane?
Well, we were lucky and very, very fortunate in both cases. And I think the fact that Jeremy had so much success at Gonzaga and enjoyed it so much and talks about it and will probably eventually come back at some point. Obviously, that to have that kind of example really helps. I think Zach watched us a lot, when he was growing up in the NCAA tournament, and kind of had a liking for us, liked how we played, and bought into, our culture and our team, and how we operate on a day-to-day basis, and how our guards play with a lot of freedom and get to shoot the ball, and I've been really impressed with him as a kid. He's got some real leadership ability, and we were hoping they'd get it done and win that state championship, but I thought he did an awesome job leading them all the way to that point.
Go on the aisle here.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. What have you seen in Kabinajay in watching film, and is there anyone that he kind of similar to you guys have played?
Well, the one thing we get that I don't think people realize, that we have unbelievable guard play in our league, and really some guards that can really, really score the ball, and they shoot it deep like Benajay does. Several of the really good guards in our league, but they're not quite the size. He's got great size and a great pace to his game, and he's really playing at a high clip right now. So I can't think of a guy I could probably compare him to in our league. He shoots with range like Brownridge does at Santa Clara. And Brownridge, you probably don't know who he is, but he can really, really score the ball. Their guards remind me a little bit of the BYU guards, and the BYU guards are coming at you from the jump, and they will shoot it out to 28 feet, and it looks on tape that the Q's guards will kind of have the same approach.
Got time for one last question on the left side.
Greg Couch at Bleacher Report. Is it possible for a team these days to go from the Cinderella level to a regular feature among the nation's elite teams? And do you guys think you've done it? And did that ability or lack of ability to do it factor in your decision to stay all these years?
Most definitely, I feel we've done it. I mean, I think that obviously is shown when you go 18 straight, and we've been a 1 seed and a 2 seed and 3 seed and a 4 seed and pretty much ranked in the top 20 during this whole run. So obviously, I think it could be done, and most definitely, it 100%. That's probably the main part of why I stayed, because I'm a competitive guy and I like to win, and we win a lot out there, and we get to advance to the tournament, and we feel like we always have a chance to advance in the tournament. And those are things that are very near and dear to me because I'm a basketball coach. That's what I do. So if I ever felt like we weren't in that position, then I wouldn't have stayed.
All right, Coach, thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Yep, you bet. Thanks.
We'll have Gonzaga student athletes in next.